Hey, what's up? This is 36 Drew coming to you again from the N30 clan. This matchup we have here is Ottoman by request once again versus British on Carolina. The game is Lieutenant Colonel, me versus Colonel. Now again, I'll try to walk you through some of the things I'm doing in here. You notice I'm just starting my build the exact same way as I started it in the previous VOD. The only difference in this case is that I'm going to spend a little bit of time searching around for my decks, simply because I really kind of don't know exactly what to do on California. It's kind of a weird map when it comes to the sea. It doesn't always have the same whales and fish in there. Not to mention, Brit can still boom pretty hard without the sea. So I kind of study it around and I decide that I'm not going to go for a schooners first card. I'll go for 3 villagers and I'll still have my sea deck handy. But later in the game, I'll add in schooners or warships if I deem it necessary. Again, one of the downfalls of this strategy right at the start is you can't really do a whole lot of scouting because your explorer is busy building trading posts. You'll notice I go for the healer treasure first off the bat. The purpose of this treasure is not to heal, although sometimes it can be effective for that. The purpose is simply to grab a scout to find a little bit more about the map, to find out where my second hunt will be, where his front base, if he's making one, will be. Or even possibly to locate a second or a dock or some sort of sea action. Maybe he's placed a tower by the sea or something like that. And so I just kind of do the standard treasure micro here. I'm not too worried about him losing a lot of HP from that, because as soon as this cougar dies, I will simply claim that treasure. Now I look at his deck here and I notice it's a pretty standard Brit deck, and he's kind of got some mixed feelings about Carolina too, I'm guessing. It's not a map where you for sure take the sea, so it looks like he's just said to hell with it. That's enough of that. I'm just going to stick with the land. So I let my explorer get healed up just a little bit here. I don't want him getting into a situation where we're exchanging volleys and they end up dying, just because that early scouting is so important. And I don't know if you can hear it here with the audio, but when I'm approaching 800 food, and this is pretty standard, I'm clicking the age up button with the 400 wood politician a ridiculous number of times, just so that I can make sure I get it as soon as possible and I'm not delaying any time. Early game here, I have my hotkeys. My town center is Control 6. Don't ask me why it's Control 6. It's just something I picked when I first started playing, and it kind of ends up being that way for all civs. Of course, if I was a civ other than Ottoman, I'd be pressing 6 and V a ridiculous number of times throughout a game. But pretty much the only thing I'll use it for is aging, or sometimes to grab my town center to call Minutemen or something like that. It's also right beside T. I don't know if that has any strategic importance, but if you accidentally hit T, it kind of brings you there. Just always worked for me. Control 1 is my explorer. That's pretty standard for a lot of people early game. Later game, that'll become ranged infantry. And Control 2 is my healer, just scouting around the map. As you can see, I notice he's built a forward house, which is pretty common. Normally with the forward house, the barracks or FB will end up being placed there, since you'll have 3 villagers to build it. And you can get it up a little bit faster, which is important. You'll notice here when grabbing my crates, I zoomed in to put them on the wood crates. The reason I did that is because about 1,000,000 times in my life, I've gone to grab those crates and accidentally placed my villagers in my town center. Then you might not realize it and you're fumbling with ejecting them, and the rally point isn't right near, and it just ends up being kind of a hassle. So my first card, which is pretty standard in this build, and again against British, because British isn't a particularly fast civ, though like many civs, 700 wood will be your second card. I do go for 700 wood, and I notice here that he's got a tower, which inevitably means that he has aged with the gold, 200 gold and tower politician. It would be nice if I had my medicine man healer down there. May have been able to cause a little bit damage, but I realized that that's not going to happen. And I send him scouting around the bottom of the map. Now you might notice when I do that I hold shift and right click in sort of an oval shape. It's pretty standard for players to do, but for some of the lower ranked guys that may be useful information. You also notice that with the 700 wood I get my foundation up going right away, and of course I have Stagecoach researching. And basically I'm just setting up my economy now to balance a combination of Abyss guns and Janissaries. Now I notice that he's going for my trading post right away, which concerns me a lot. It happens to me a lot. And in my first group I was only able to get 3 Janissaries, so my control group of ranged infantries right now is only consisting of 3 Janissaries and my Explorer, which of course is very little. My third card was 5 Janissaries, just to get that early military going. He had a villager there that I targeted in the hope of drawing his army. My whole plan of what I'm doing right here is to make sure he doesn't get on that trading post enough to kill it. See, he keeps going back to it, and I hit him, and the health on it is really quite low. And if you'll notice, I still don't know how it happened, but he must have put villagers in the town center or had some military that killed my scout, which was going through his base, which kind of sucks. I'll explain a little bit later in game as to why. And you notice the trading post just held on by a hair. And you also notice when I looked at my town center there, I just clicked on his Explorer briefly for 1 second. The reason I did that was simply to see if I could just pop a couple villagers in there and kill him, but he had about 210 HP, so I would have needed to, 3 hits with about, 8 or 9 villagers in there to kill him. So, and even then it's not a guarantee that I'd get the 3 hits off, so I don't elect to do that. And yeah, you notice I've hit the repair function on that trading post to repair it. And I'm going back to the house I initially saw that had the 3 villagers over there. I was quite surprised that the barracks wasn't right there. And I think he realized that it would be a good idea to place the barracks near my trading post to try and take it away from me and get some map control. So I'm just going through here to get these villagers. And in this situation I'm feeling that it's particularly important to take this barracks down early. In most situations, if you can, it's always a good idea. I'm not 100% sure where he is on the map or what he's up to right now, so this could be a little bit of a gamble, because if he's added in some hustlers and he's got a little bit of good micro, I don't have particularly a lot of Janissaries, and Ottoman doesn't have a ton of great anti-cav. The good thing about this army is it's not super good, but it's not just really basically easy to kill either. It's kind of a diverse mix. And the score right now is 91 to 87 in his favor. And you'll notice I just keep queuing up Janissaries and Abyss guns, as many as I can basically. My next card is 600 wood. The intention with that is to get a church up, a market up, and a stables up, and to start adding some cavalry into the mix to go raiding with, and also just to kick some ass with, basically. And as I'm floating around and I can't really see any military to pick off or anything, I've been trying to work on my Abyss micro a little bit so that 10 Abyss don't kill 1 musket, but just using a little bit of click and drag, getting 2 or 3 little groups going with that. You'll notice I spend very little time actually managing my eco once the game gets going. That's twofold. Partly because Ottoman is a civ that doesn't need a ton of eco micro or macro, if you want to call it that. And also simply because dealing with your army is usually more important than dealing with your eco. You'll notice here I see just a little 90 food treasure, so I grab that. You may have seen a minute ago when I was just taking out that house, I walked my explorer in front of all my men to see exactly what was going on there, just in case there was a huge amount of army chasing me. I could run the rest of my army back and sacrifice my explorer if I need to. He's got a lot of HP. You may also wonder why I took out the house. Yeah, you normally don't want to house Brits. However, I really didn't like the line of sight that house was providing me. So, you know, that's sort of a calculated risk that you take. And in that particular instance, I felt it was the right move to make. Now, I'm not sure exactly what he's doing here, and I notice his army's somewhere else. Oh, and two falconets pop out. And, you know, if there's something that's imbalanced, it's that Avis guns just absolutely murder falconets. And so I happen to get really lucky with that shipment popping out there. Had it came out at a different time and he had the range advantage and my Avis weren't so close, it may have been different. But I do go for that. And as you can see, I've started to add the cavalry into the mixture there. And I actually didn't even notice that he went to age 3. And at this point, the score right now is 136 to 125 in his favor. Of course, he's got, for sure, got a bit of an economic advantage. I'm thinking, however, that I have a military advantage at this point. It's unlikely that he's going to spam any cannons. I don't know if that would make a lot of sense. You could. If he got 4 or 5 out, my Avis would really not stand a chance. But in the meantime, I'm sending my hussars around to go raid. I don't know what I'm going looking for, but I wish I had that healer that scouted a little better earlier. And I see in the mini map there's a little bit of hunt up there, but I don't see anything. Oh, and then I stumble across that. I use the attack move here, but I kind of use it sloppily, and I don't get them positioned particularly good. I also try to run in front and block a few, and then I notice he's got a pretty sizable military unit advantage there, simply because my cav's out of position. Now I'm just trying to hit and kill the cav here because my army can easily one-hit kill that cavalry. Meanwhile, my raid is done there, and I've called in my cav from the back. And here you can see I'm selecting the smaller number of Avis to one-hit kill and really improve the efficiency of what's happening here. And then I call my cavalry in to provide some assistance. At this point, his score has dropped to about 15, 17, 18 points below mine. I just really needed to keep on him, and he just says GG. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Again, I'll try to get it more in the future. See if I can be of assistance to anyone in that regard. Take care, everybody.